This is Jasmine Crockett. This is her explaining the problem with immigration, though, that I thought just blew my mind. Take a look.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime.
Oh. Congresswoman Crockett. It is against the law. 8 USC 1325. What is going on that a member of Congress doesn't believe that it's a crime? It's actually, the second time you do it, it's a felony. Just because your side didn't enforce the law doesn't make it any less of a crime. But how pathetic is it that that's literally the mentality? She's fighting there, screaming. It's not that she's saying it shouldn't be a crime. She's saying it's not a crime to enter the country illegally. Let that sink in. I laugh, but it's not funny. These guys are that stupid. All right, guys, hope you had a good weekend, recovering from springing forward. I put that out on the Twitters this weekend, the X, I guess. Whether or not we should just lock this in. This daylight savings is later night. I love when you get a late night. And I'm going to talk about this in just a second, but I do love when it gets lighter, it stays lighter out earlier. And I'm going to mention this because I think there's a bigger point that I want to make here, but we've got an unbelievable week headed your way. Roger Stone is going to join us. Caroline Levitt, I think you've heard of her. She's going to join us. Steve Bannon is going to join us. Brendan Carr, the chair of the FCC, is going to join us. And then our Thursday panel is a Blaze Media special panel. Unbelievable. I'm so excited for it. I love some of these folks on the Blaze. Obviously, our good friend Sarah Gonzalez, but trust me, you will not get disappointed. On the housekeeping front, this weekend, Friday night, the government will shut down. I feel like this is like almost like every other month. The government's going to shut down if we don't do anything. Well, Friday night, we're going to run out of funding. The plan right now is to pass a end of the fiscal year through September continuing resolution, a little plus up in defense is what Speaker Johnson wants. Jam the Senate, get them to do it. They need 8 Democrats, I think 7, 8, because Rand Paul will vote against it, to get this thing passed. So this is kind of going to be interesting. Only Republicans in the House, and then 8 Democrats are going to need in the Senate, or we're screwed. I think we get L8 because they don't want to shut the government down. And it's kind of interesting. Republicans never win on these fights. They always get killed on the PR battle, and they cave and they fold. This time, I think Democrats are going to have to come to the side, but we'll see. We will see. A lot going on. By the way, I mentioned this at the front. Point of personal pleasure. I'm back, baby. The President Friday night, truthing out the following. Our great United States Naval Academy needs a new board of visitors. I am pleased to announce that the incredible group of patriots will serve on the board. Walt Nauta, Sean Spicer, Doc Ronnie Jackson, and Derrick Van Orden. Together, they will ensure continued greatness of the Academy. First and foremost, my sincere thank you to the President for reappointing me. Remember that. It's both Ronnie and I were reappointed because Biden fired us. Remember that case? I think we call it Spicer v. Biden. Well, I want to appreciate the President for doing that. He didn't have to. I talked to him about this. He said, Sean, there's a lot of people who want to do it. And I'm sure there are, and I appreciate his continued support. And I know that it's funny this time, all these people who want to serve. Last time it was, we got to be resistant to Trump. Now everyone thinks it's cool to love Trump, but I appreciate the President's continued support of me. He's been so good. For all these people to talk about his loyalty, this guy has not only given me a job and an honor of a lifetime to serve in that position, but then endorsed all 4 books that I wrote, voted for me on Dancing with the Stars, reappointed me to the Naval Academy. Yeah, that speaks for itself, doesn't it? So just remember that when you hear the media talk, sometimes they'll pick off 1 or 2 people who weren't loyal or who went after him or decided to make money off him or grift off of him. But what was interesting is I was excited to get this. I've served, A, I served before, but B, 20-something years, 26 in the Navy, graduate of the Naval War College, some CO tours, some good decorations. Okay. You can question my credentials if you want. Ronnie Jackson rose to the level of 1 star, actually was nominated for a 2nd star, was an EOD guy, White House physician, right? Walt Nauta, who they called the president's valet, whatever, 20 years in the Navy, and Derrick Van Orden, a badass Navy SEAL. And this is how literally 50 different media outlets, they all wrote the same thing. I could do one of those mashups, you see them all. Literally the same segment ran on over 50 different local news outlets. I want to play it for you. Here you go.
And President Trump is installing a number of loyalists on the U.S. Naval Academy Board of Visitors. That board provides oversight to the Naval Academy. Trump says he will appoint his valet and assistant, Walt Nauta, and his former press secretary, Sean Spicer. Also joining that board, Trump's former physician and current Texas Congressman Ronnie Jackson, as well as Wisconsin Representative Derrick Van Orden. This all coming after Trump dismissed existing presidential appointees on the boards of the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard.
Okay. Where to start? We're all loyalists. That's got to be why we were appointed, couldn't it? Shouldn't it? No mention. Every one of those 4 people that they just mentioned, all 4, have served over 20 years in the United States Navy. You think that might be something worth mentioning? I mean, how disingenuous. This story, as I said, ran in 50 different news outlets. If you're in Boise and you woke up and saw that story, you'd be like, wow, he just randomly appoints 4 loyalists, huh? No experience, no background, no nothing. That's number 1. Number 2, it's wrong. Do you hear what she said at the end? He dismissed everyone from the Army, Navy, Coast Guard. Coast Guard? Where's the Coast Guard Academy? I mean, the Coast Guard Academy is in New London. I went to school across from it. Right? I don't know that he actually did do that. I know that he dismissed everyone from the Navy and Air Force, but I wasn't aware that there were appointees. I'll look into that. Wasn't aware of that. Interesting. Also, no mention of the fact, not just my case, Spicer v. Biden, but that Biden started this. Remember this, folks, because they don't want to tell you this. Until Biden, no member in our history had been dismissed from a service academy. Ever. Joe Biden did it. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. When I got on the first time, I had to wait. When I left the White House, they said, what do you want? I said, I'd like to go to the service academy. I'd like to go to the Navy. They said, well, we can put you on the White House Fellows Commission for a while because we have to wait for someone to cycle off, one of the Obama appointees. So I did. Do you want to, the reason that President Trump gets 4 is because Biden fired all of us, myself and Ronnie Jackson. We're 2 of them. And Russ Vought, obviously, he was on the lawsuit with me. They don't want to tell you this because it doesn't fit into the narrative. But if you're waking up around the country over the weekend, you saw that same segment verbatim across the country. This is the kind of misinformation that they're so quick to talk about. It's not that I lie. I'm loyal to President Trump. He's been loyal to me. I have no problem with that. But they don't want to tell you the whole story. They want to perpetuate a ridiculous BS narrative. That's what's going on in this country. That's what's happening. And we have to understand that because when you hear a story, it's like, when I was a kid, my mom would say, like, it's not lying. It's just you didn't tell the whole truth. That's what that is. Technically, I guess they're not lying. I don't want to speak for the other 3. I have no problem with that. I'm loyal to President Trump. He's been loyal to me. But they're lying to you. They're pretending somehow that that's our qualification. Never mind that myself and Ronnie had actually served on it, but the idea that we actually all have decades of experience. The idea, I mean, I'll leave it at that, but I want you to understand how dishonest these people are. It's insane. And they don't care. They literally, this is like, remember that ad where it showed them all talking at the same time? If we had the time, and maybe I will, we'll put that together for you. I literally want to show you because I get these clips. Market after market after market after market. Same exact script. That's how we get news. This time it's personal for me. But think about that. That's some dude, some leftist dude, probably in DC, writes it and sends out the talking points. That's how we get our news every day. Unbelievable. By the way, he also appointed Laura Ingraham and Maria Bartiromo to the Kennedy Center. He wrote this: I'm thrilled to announce that Laura Ingraham and Maria Bartiromo will be joining our Kennedy Center board. This completes our selection. In other words, no more applications needed. We look forward to restoring the center to greatness and ushering in America's golden age. Together, we will make the arts great again. So there you go. These guys are so crazy, by the way. They have no problem when they appoint all of their buddies. Corinne Jean-Pierre, by the way, was appointed to the board of the Kennedy Center. No one had a problem with that, did they? They don't want to comment on that. It's just when it's Trump, it's so different. By the way, the president went down to Florida for the weekend and came back. They have these things called pool reports. I've talked to you guys about them in the past, right? This is the representative group of the media that will go into the Oval Office or travel on Air Force One. And they send out these reports, these dispatches on everything that he does so that the rest of the media knows what's happening. Sometimes it's what he's wearing. Sometimes it's sort of the color as to what's happening. You know, he drove into the gate and there were 4 people here. This Friday night when he went out of town, and it's actually the same when he came back, the pool report notes that President Trump went up the big stairs boarding Air Force One. Now, the thing that I find funny is that prior to Biden, they were just called the stairs. I mean, think about that. We now have to refer to them as the big stairs because President Biden couldn't go up them without falling. Isn't that funny? I mean, maybe I'm the only one that picked up on this. But the idea that we now have to refer to the different stairs, the short stairs or the big stairs, maybe we should call the other one the Biden stairs. But even last night, they said he returned to Washington and went down the big stairs. It's like a Seinfeld episode. He went up the big stairs. He went down the big stairs. Little stairs. Anyway, I thought it was funny. He did what they call gaggle on Air Force One. So it's that back cabin. There's 13 seats back there. This is where the pool gathers. Gave us an update on everything going on, including the feud between Elon and the rest of the cabinet. Take a listen.
I don't think the tensions are high. Look, Elon's a very special person, and these cabinet people are special people. You know, these are very successful people, or they wouldn't have gotten, you know, they've attained the highest heights of government. And I think they have a fantastic relationship to Elon. And DOGE has been incredible. You know, hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud and abuse has been already found. And that doesn't mean they don't have a little bit of an argument here and there about something, or maybe personnel arguments. There's not too many contract arguments. You know, contracts have been found. This is much more than just personnel. And we found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraudulent contracts, or very wasteful. But I think fraud. I think it's fraud.
It was just another plane crash.
And I think really the cabinet, for the most part, I think they get along really well with him.
You know, 2 things there. One, getting off of my media rant again. It's amazing. They're having discussions. I get it. When Elon started, the cabinet wasn't entirely there, so he was starting his work. Of course, there's going to be pushback. I'd want to know if you were going to fire somebody who worked for me or in my department and why. Okay, that's healthy. This is better than the Biden years when we didn't know what the heck was going on. It was just a black hole. And speaking of the plane, the president, as I mentioned, they're back in the back of the plane talking to the press. I don't know that President Biden ever did that in 4 years. I don't know that he could do that ever in those 4 years. But this begs to me like a question that I get asked all the time. When I'm out at events, small groups, big groups, whatever, people always ask me, talk to me about how President Trump thinks about issues. How does he make his decisions? And there was a clip on Friday that I was thinking about over the weekend that really exemplifies his thinking. And most people in the media just dismissed it. They were like, okay, because he was asked about daylight savings time. And as you know, in the past, he's talked about getting rid of it or actually locking it in so that we would have these things. Have later light at night, right? You know, I mean, I'm just one of those people. I hate it when it gets dark at like 4 o'clock. And if you're up in New England, when I was a kid, like you literally like 3:30, 3:45, it would get dark in the winter. So it kind of sucked. I mean, I hate that. It makes me depressed and tired. And I love the light in the afternoon. I love summers when they go to like 8 o'clock. That's my favorite, right? But I want you to listen to his explanation because I think this is such a window into his thinking. Take a look.
The clocks are going to spring forward on Sunday. When are you going to get rid of daylight savings time?
Okay, are you ready? So, this should be the easiest one of all, but it's a 50-50 issue. And if something's a 50-50 issue, it's hard to get excited about it. I assume people would like to have more light later, but some people want to have more light earlier because they don't want to take their kids to school in the dark. And it's a little bit one way, but it's very much a 50-50 issue. And it's something I can do, but a lot of people like it one way, a lot of people like it the other way. It's very even. And usually I find when that's the case, what else do we have to do?
Okay, do you understand why I played that? Because I think a lot of people in the media dismissed it. Most issues that Trump talked about, think back to the joint address last week. 80-20, 70-30, even 60-40. But he puts his finger on that. It's a 50-50 issue. I'm not going to win on this. Yes, there's a lot of people like me that want light at the end of the day, longer. I love it. I said it, okay? I think people in Florida want that because you're closer to the equator. But if you're in New England, or probably, I don't have a ton of experience of getting up early in Minnesota or Oregon or Washington. I don't know. It's Pacific Coast. I don't know what it's like. Okay. But the people higher up, I can speak for the New Englanders, don't really like this. Because part of the year, it's going to be really dark till like 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. So if you have to take your kids to school or to the bus stop or whatever, they're standing there in the pitch dark. I get it. It's a safety issue for a lot of people. But that's not the point. The point is, it's a window into how he thinks about issues. He thinks about how this is going to play. And yes, every once in a while, I think he takes a principled stance on something that he knows isn't probably that way. And you've seen a bunch of them. I think some of the economics, like tariffs, I think the default is not probably the majority of people with him. But it's a deep-held belief of his going back to the 80s. If you ever go back and listen to him in interviews or read his books, he talks about Japan and other countries ripping us off. But for the most part, a lot of these issues that he talks about, and they enumerated at the joint address, men and women's sports, right, DEI, these are not widely popular. Most people don't like them at all. And he champions them. And this is where the Democrats fall for the trap every time. Anyway, I just wanted to give you that because I think it's a window into his thinking. And that's important. All right, I've got some DOD stuff to talk to you about, but I thought this was interesting. I played this a while ago, but Pete Hegseth, the now Secretary of Defense, actually got announced or noticed that he was being audited by the IRS. No one is immune from this, guys. No one. I mean, the IRS is the largest collection agency in the world, and they've got the full power of the federal government behind them. So if you get one of these pay-up notices, or you owe back taxes, or you've unfiled taxes, I get it. Especially through COVID, there's a lot of people who got behind or had an issue. But I'm telling you this, simply avoiding not paying taxes or dealing with the IRS is the worst thing you can do. So you have two options as far as I can see. One, pray and hope that they don't come after you. Or two, get ahead of the problem, which is what I recommend. There are some people who are really good at helping you if you choose this, which I think is the smart way. Just don't contact the IRS by yourself. Be like, hi, I think I have a problem. What do you think they're going to do? Turn to the people at Tax Network USA. They are the best in the business. These guys know exactly who to call and who not to call. They have like a preferred line into the IRS. They know which agents will actually play ball and are friendly and will work with them and try to get a deal, and which ones are just never, ever going to fold and they'll stay away from them. They have proven solutions that have recovered over $1 billion for their clients. Don't go this alone. Trust me. Get a professional. I think the best in the business are the folks at Tax Network. Start by calling one of their strategists. It's absolutely free. It will stop the threatening letters if you've already gotten them, whether or not it's because you owe them money or you didn't file returns. Just call 1-800-905 8000, or go to tnusa.com. So it's TN, Tax Network, USA.com/Sean Spicer. One full word, no spaces, just like Madonna. Sean Spicer. Once again, tnusa.com/Sean Spicer. By the way, when I woke up this morning, I had an amazing cup of coffee. And I'm telling you, the way to start your day is with a cup of coffee from my friends at Wired to Fish. Look at that bag. Look at that bag. I got another 3 upstairs because I just ordered a bunch of these. And when I say I ordered them, guys, my money in the little, I typed it in. I used my code WeCare for 10% off. But I love starting the day off with either a cup of coffee, a cup of iced coffee, so I can make some extra sometimes, put it in the fridge. I save it for later in the week and then just parse it out. But I'm telling you, the cool thing about Wired to Fish is that it's not just a great cup of coffee, which is it is. I love the medium roast. That's just me. They got an amazing bunch of flavors, so you can choose what you like. But I love the medium roast. And whenever I have people over, like family, when I had the morning meeting in my kitchen, you might remember that, I made everybody Wired to Fish coffee. And the cool thing is that it's consistent with my values. These guys love the outdoors. They love fishing, which is hence the name. They love Jesus. It's just they give back to faith-based companies and clean water initiatives. I love that stuff. And so how cool is it that you can actually have a great product that is consistent with your values? Start your day off right with Wired to Fish coffee. And right now you can get one of these customized tumblers. I paid full price minus the code for this. It's Sean Spicer Show on one side, Wired to Fish on the other. You can't get this. Literally, if you watch the morning meeting, you'll see me using it every morning. I love this cup. And the ones that I have, I got myself. So you can get your Wired to Fish Sean Spicer Show Yeti tumbler. They are now discounted to even more, and you can give it a great try. You get the discount code WeCare, one word, WeCare, for 10% off. Go to the numeral 2 fish, wired2fishcoffee.com. Support a great coffee and great causes. All right, let me get back to where we are right now, because there's a lot more that was happening that I thought was just so important. As I mentioned, Caroline Leavitt here later this week, Steve Bannon here this week, Brendan Carr, the FCC chairman, and Roger Stone, plus a great panel with the Blaze. The other thing that I thought was interesting, by the way, is this idea of fighting back. I talk about it all the time. How are we fighting back? And so often Republicans roll over. We get a win and we go, okay, let's not, whatever. The president did something at the end of last week, again, that I don't think got a lot of attention, but it is worth noting. He signs an executive order suspending the security clearances for this law firm, Perkins Coie. And for a lot of people, you're like, who's Perkins Coie? Okay. These are the folks that played a key role in disseminating the Steele dossier, which perpetuated the Russia hoax. Now think about this for a second. These are the guys that spread this lie, that financed it via the DNC. And think about what that did. Okay, personally, some time in front of the Mueller, committee that I wasn't exactly excited about. A lot of prep time with lawyers, a lot of legal bills for a lot of people. But it also was a huge, huge distraction from Trump's first term. I mean, how many times as press secretary did I get Russia, Russia, Russia? Michael Flynn, Russia, this, that. And by the way, I've told this story before, but I remember the first time, it was January 6th, I get this call from Ben Smith, then at BuzzFeed, and then subsequently Jake Tapper at CNN. Oh, we've got this dossier. It's unproven, but we want your response. One of the allegations was that Michael Cohen, then the president's personal attorney, had been in Prague. I called Michael Cohen literally on the phone and said, Michael, let me ask you the oddest question. Do you have your passport on you? He said, yes. I don't know. Some people carry their passport, some people don't. I put it in a safe, but that's beside the point. So I said, can you do me a favor? Because I didn't want to felt like I was like some crime investigator. I've watched too much TV. I go, will you do me a favor? Where are you? He's like, well, I just left the office. I said, I know this sounds odd. Drive back. I need to I know this is crazy. Please. So he does. I said, can I see your passport? I'm playing like Inspector Clouseau at the time. I'm like, let me see this. And I look. There's no stamp. Out or into the country. Meaning, it's not even that he went to Prague. He didn't leave the country in close to the time frame. And I'm talking months from when the dossier alleged. And he says to me, no, Sean, I was actually in California on a trip, a college visit with my kid. I can prove it. Obviously, there's travel records and etc. So I called Tapper and Ben Smith back. I said, okay, by the way, this can't be true. I can prove to me demonstrably that this guy wasn't in Prague. In fact, I can show you that he was in California, which is clearly part of the United States of America. Technically, at least. That's a joke. They still went ahead with the story. This Steele dossier, not only was it unverified, I de-verified it. I've poked holes in it. This thing wreaked havoc through that whole first term. And these people knew it. They perpetuated it. And here's the worst part. They've had security clearances. Now, why do you ask? Well, sometimes if you get a clearance, if you have a client, you get clearance, they'll do a security clearance for you to make sure that you can work with your client. And then they peddle that influence in DC. We have attorneys with security clearances. We can handle this. We can handle that. We can take your client on. They use it for commercial purposes to bring in more business. And Trump rightly said, no more. No more. Previous Republican presidents, I'm not trying to like demean it or criticize, would have just been like, well, let's let bygones be bygones. Sorry. No more. That's what they would have done to us. In fact, remember, President Biden revoked President Trump's security clearance as a former president. So the idea that President Trump's fighting back, we should not forget this. He's taking things head on. This is what we're supposed to be doing. This is all these things that we've said. I'm writing my column this week at SeanSpicer.com about this theme. This idea that like we finally have the tools, the organizations, and more importantly, the leader to fight back. We roll over every time. Oh, it's so, I don't know. It's just not nice. Why are we the ones that do this all the time? Finally, the problem, you think they're going to stop? If we keep being the ones that roll over every time they do something when they have power, what do you think we're teaching them? I would take away from that, hey, guess what? We can keep abusing them because they'll never do anything about it. But once they know that, guess what? We will do the same and maybe even ratchet it up. Maybe, just maybe, I don't think they will, but maybe they'll stop. But that clearly wasn't going to ever happen the way we were acting. No way. All right. I want to talk to you, as I mentioned, about DOD because there's some really cool stuff happening over there. But before I do, I want to tell you about one of our other great guys, Leo Grillo. If you've been following the show, Leo's been with us since the jump, since go. He has such an amazing story. He founded Delta Rescue after rescuing one single Doberman dog. And he realized a calling to help animals. And I'm talking abused, neglected, malnutritioned animals. And the thing is, and one of my first conversations with him, and he's, once in a while he'll tease me about this, not too much, but I'll say to him, oh, it's a shelter. He says, Sean, it's a no-kill sanctuary for life, the world's largest. It's amazing the work they do. And if you go to deltarescue.org, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They have grown so much. Go to deltarescue.org, just look at the videos, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But here's the thing, no USAID, no government grants. Leo does this because he has a heart of gold. And he asks people like me and you. And I've made a personal contribution to Delta Rescue, and I would ask you consider the same. That's how this place runs, on personal contributions and sponsorships. Please go to deltarescue.org. Check it out. At the top, you're going to see something called an estate planning kit. Do me a quick favor. Just click on it and look at it, pray on it, okay? This is how this is going to continue for decades and generations. Is if we have an old 401k or a stock that we think, hey, maybe we could make this part of this mission. And you can talk with a tax professional, and I'm sure they'll give you some insight as to what tax benefits it'll give you. But go to deltarescue.org, think about a contribution, and download that estate planning kit. All right. Some big, big fake news at the Department of Defense that the new Secretary, Pete Hegseth, is calling out. The AP started reporting that all these pictures, because they want to get rid of DEI. So they're like, you remember the Enola Gay, that historic, right? And they're like, oh, well, see, because it says gay in it, it's going to get taken down. And all of the soldiers that were part of that, even one of them's a Medal of Honor recipient, they're going to get completely wiped out of DOD's catalog of stuff. No. They tweeted out, this is fake news and anyone with a pulse knows it. We are not removing images of the Enola Gay or any other pictures that honor the legacy of our warfighters. Because that's the keyword, warfighters. And Pete Hegseth knows it. He actually, it was kind of funny because there's another, the media gotcha attempt. They wrote that there's the DOD and DOGE have a plan to cut climate programs in the Pentagon. But officials and experts are warning that climate efforts at DOD are directly linked to military readiness. The spokesman, John Elliott, we had him on the show before he wrote that book, The Biden-Harris Betrayal. He's now the Pentagon press secretary. See how people end up on the show and then they go to important places? I'm just saying. He tweets out, nope. Yeah, guess what? Our ethos is about war fighting. And if it doesn't have to do with war fighting, that key word again, we're not doing it. Hegseth tweets out after John responds to this reporter and says, John is of course correct. The Department of Defense does not do climate change crap. We do training and war fighting. The ethos is there, being restored. We are here to fight wars, protect the country. Not a bunch of DEI stuff. It is unbelievable, right? How quick everything changes. And it's not just DOD. Think about like our whole economic strategy. The president wants to enact these tariffs. And by the way, just so, again, because everyone's going to act shocked on April 2nd, what is about to happen on April 2nd? The president has tasked the government to go through every other country's trade policies. You tariff us, we'll tariff you. He keeps saying it's reciprocal, but this report is going to come out on April 2nd because he's suspicious of April 1st. And it's going to enumerate every country and how they're screwing us. India. So, I mean, I think no one is being spared. But it's finally calling on the carpet. And I know all these lefties in the media are like, oh my God, whatever, this is ridiculous. It's going to start a trade war. Why should we perpetually be the suckers? Why isn't it good enough that our agricultural products get into certain markets? India, Europe. Why is it that our cars don't sell as well? Well, because in a lot of cases, there's tariffs and non-tariff barriers. But if you listen to the media, there's only one solution. It's that it's going to cost everyone $1 million more, right? Its prices are going to rise. It's actually not that easy or simple. They don't want to tell you that, but it's true. See, they could actually lower their tariff, and that's the goal. So President Trump wants one of two things to happen. One is we either benefit, because depending on the product, here in the United States, that our product becomes more palatable, which would drive down prices, meaning that you go, well, I'd rather buy the US car than the European car because it's more affordable. So guess who benefits? Us and US manufacturers. Or they take their tariff down. Who benefits? Us again. The media doesn't want to tell you this. Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, was out crushing it over the weekend, pushing it back. And he speaks very forcefully and bluntly. And by the way, what a contrast. Let me ask you this before you answer, because I will. Who was the Treasury Secretary under the Biden administration? Well, for the smart one, it was Janet Yellen. We never saw her. President's got this team, Scott Bessent, Kevin Hassett, Howard Lutnick. They're out there every day making the case, explaining to the American people what's going on. Here was Lutnick, by the way, making the case.
Anybody who bets against Donald Trump, it's like the same people who thought Donald Trump wasn't a winner a year ago. Donald Trump is a winner. He's going to win for the American people. That's just the way it's going to be. There's going to be no recession in America. What there's going to be is global tariffs are going to come down because President Trump has said, you want to charge us 100%? We're going to charge you 100%. And you know what they say? They say, no, don't charge us 100%. We'll bring ours down. We'll unleash America out to the world, grow our economy in a way we've never grown before. You are going to see over the next 2 years the greatest set of growth coming from America as Americans. You saw it, 1.3 trillion of new investment coming in America. Think of all those jobs. And remember, each trillion of investment in America is 1% of growth GDP. So Donald Trump is bringing growth to America. I would never bet on recession. No chance.
You see that, though? You don't ever hear that. I talked earlier in the show about the dishonesty of the media. See, they tell you it's only one way. And maybe there will be some things in some areas and some prices of certain products and industries that do go up. The president said there might be some short-term pain. But no one wants to tell you about what actually is really happening. Howard Lutnick there, the Commerce Secretary, commenting on the investment. SoftBank, hundreds of billions of dollars. Apple, hundreds of billions of dollars. The Taiwan Semiconductor, hundreds of millions of dollars. Here in America, making American jobs, investing in America. Honda, saying that they're going to move the Civic from Mexico to Indiana. That didn't just happen. It happened because the president said, I'm going to make it more painful for you to produce things in foreign countries. So as Howard Lutnick pointed out, they do have an option. They can, one, move production in the United States. Two, they can lower their prices. Why do we have to keep being the suckers? Why is it okay for them to have access to the U.S. market and not ours? That's the mentality. That's been the thinking for decades. It's okay if they screw you. Unbelievable. But it does make you realize about the other side. They're not just the mentality of the morons in the media and all this stuff. But there were some things that have happened over the last 72, 96 hours that crystallized what's really going on the other side. It's just, there's an element of personal decency too. JD Vance was out over the weekend. He's hanging out with his daughter, his 3-year-old daughter. And there's a video that comes out because they're harassing him and his daughter. JD tweeted out that while walking his 3-year-old daughter, a group of Salva Ukraini protesters followed us around and shouted as my daughter grew increasingly anxious and scared. Think about that. Any parent walking your kid around, he's got Secret Service protection, right? He's still he's not worried about him. He's worried about her. He said, I decided to speak with the protesters in the hopes that I could trade a few minutes of my conversation for them leaving the toddler alone. Nearly all of them agreed. It was mostly a respectful conversation. But if you're chasing a 3-year-old as part of a political protest, you're a SH, of a person. Pretty blunt, pretty true, pretty pathetic. Here's a clip of this, just so you get a sense of what I'm talking about. This is a guy, by the way, he's with his daughter, and he has to stop and bargain. Hey, I'll trade you, honey. Can you just wait for a second while I go talk to these nut jobs? Take a look.
No one has articulated the draft case. Respectfully, I disagree. I think what we're doing is we're actually forcing a diplomatic settlement. If you talk to Joe Biden,
nobody in Ukraine benefits. No one.
Do
you think Russia can be diplomatic?
Okay. But the point is, the bigger point is, it's just a ridiculous exchange. The idea that he had to be like, hey, honey, can you just wait while daddy talks to these idiots? Because I want to see if I can bargain with them to talk to them about their issue. Well, so that we don't get harassed anymore. This is pathetic. It really is. By the way, a big agenda item today, I've talked about the president. He's going to have a big week ahead of him. RFK today is sitting down, I think Lee Zeldin, the EPA administration, is all going to be there, with big food executives. These are the guys, the processed food folks, and I'll be interested in the tone and terror that comes out afterwards. What do I mean by that? Well, there's several possibilities. And part of the problem is that it's not just how bad they are, but it's a lack of transparency, not telling us what's in these foods, lying to us that they're okay. We already saw the red dye issue. So part of it is labeling, transparency. Why are you allowing certain of the same products go to Europe or Canada, but then you screw us with the bad stuff? It will be interesting what really comes out of that. But, I started to think a lot about the Democrats after that JD Vance stuff and just how warped some of their thinking is and what we're up against. First of all, I started thinking, about Pelosi because she's sort of still kind of the leader. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but one of the thoughts that I had is I think part of the reason that she's so pissed at President Trump is she hasn't figured out a way to trade those insider stocks the way that she does since she's not driving the policy. Because if it's Trump, she's got to figure out, how do I trade stocks off of him to make money? It really is. There's now these apps set up just to follow Pelosi's insider trading. It's pathetic. But it's also like goes down to the rank and file. A complete lack of understanding about how the country works, how the laws work. This is Jasmine Crockett. You see her in the news a lot making silly videos and making a fool out of herself generally on MSNBC. This is her explaining the problem with immigration, though, that I thought just blew my mind. Take a look.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why they're so frustrated, because they really want our local law enforcement to go out and round up people when they could be looking out for the murderers and the sexual abusers as well as the robbers. They want them to go and round people up on civil accusations.
Oh. Now, I know fact checkers are in hibernation because Trump's backing off. I mean, when it comes to them. But actually, Congresswoman Crockett, it is against the law. 8 USC 1325. It's against the law. I am surprised that anybody doesn't know that, actually. I mean, what is going on that a member of Congress doesn't believe that it's a crime? It's actually, the second time you do it, it's a felony. Just because your side didn't enforce the law doesn't make it any less of a crime. I mean, it's the same thing the way they don't let shoplifting be a crime anymore. Just because you don't go after them doesn't make it any less of a crime. It's still a crime. You just aren't prosecuting anyone. Guess what? There's a new sheriff in town. Crimes will be enforced. But how pathetic is it that that's literally the mentality? She's fighting there, screaming. It's not that she's saying it shouldn't be a crime. She's saying it's not a crime to enter the country illegally. Let that sink in. I laugh, but it's not funny. These guys are that stupid. But when you realize this, their response is really that stupid. They really are that bad because they got this chance. The president does a joint address a week ago. And you would think that after getting smacked around. Now, remember, the election was in November. You got November, December, January, February, the beginning of March. November, December, January, February. Just call it that. 4 months. How are you going to respond to him? What are you going to say? This is their response. And for those of you, like, if you don't see this, there's literally, this is how the Democrats are going to respond to him. Take a look. Okay, they're dancing. It's not funny. It's cringy. It's also part of their leadership. That was Kathleen Clark. She's the number 2. The number 2. It wasn't a bunch of rank and file people saying, hey, let's make a cute TikTok video or something. Their answer is to dance around in a cute video. To be like, see, we're the tough fighters. It's embarrassing. I mean, it's full on pathetic. At some point, it's like, I feel like we need to trade some players to them. Be like, hey, look, we got a couple people. We'll send you over to help. Remember when you were a kid and the teams were that outnumbered that you act like halftime, you go, all right, we get Joey and Judy and they're on our team. And then we'll send you like at some point you got to, like, this is actually kind of scary. And again, it's not just the rank and file. This is Rosa DeLauro. She's nuts. She is the ranking House Democrat on the House Appropriations Committee. Think about how powerful that is. Take a listen to her.
Yo, this is the ranking Rizzler on appropriations, serving Connecticut's 3rd District. It's time to enter your dark academia Congress era. All right, besties. House appropriation is the money moves in Congress. We are not chasing the bag. We are the bag. Democrats are making life smoother through government funding. It's giving, it's giving. So Sigma, main character energy. But Republicans' Project 2025 is mad sus. Eliminating the Department of Education? Negative aura points. Basically, the biggest phantom tax on the environment, on your education, and your rights. Big L posting it online, buddy. Democrats understood the assignment, but go off. See how I keep you informed? Very cutesy, very demure.
No, very sad, very pathetic. I honestly, I'm really starting to feel bad. I shouldn't. I don't. But you know what I mean? Like I don't even know what to say anymore. Like they used to actually, this is like the Super Bowl champions going out and playing a Pop Warner football team. It's not even fun anymore. It's kind of, it's just sad. I mean, this means that we're going to get stuff done. If that's the greatest opposition that you face, man, are we in for a good 4 years? This means we got to make sure we re-elect a Republican House, by the way, Senate, so that we can keep the agenda moving forward. As I said, by the way, huge week ahead for us. Roger Stone, Caroline Leavitt, Steve Bannon, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, and the Blaze All-Star panel on Thursday. What a week. It is going to be phenomenal. I've got some great content going in SeanSpicer.com this week. It's free to sign up. Always love a VIP member. A great gift if you're waiting and thinking, I forgot so-and-so's birthday. Give them a subscription to SeanSpicer.com. It's cheap. It's easy. Supports our work, so I appreciate everyone who's doing that. Thanks for kicking off your week with us, by the way. What a great week we have in store for you. Amazing guests. Wow. So click that subscribe button and notifications so you never miss an episode. Look forward to the rest of the week. It's going to be a big one. Thanks for kicking off your week with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow on The Sean Spicer Show.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.